What's up, everybody? This is Tim from Arm Wrestling Secrets, and I wanted to talk in this video about how beating a stronger opponent is like destroying a tank. Okay, now let me explain that a little bit. Now, first of all, I wanted to explain that this isn't like a David versus Goliath type of video, to where you're imagining yourself, I don't know how big you are, let's say you're 170 pounds, and you're talking about beating 300-pound opponents, and I'm going to teach you that. That is not what this video is about. Remember, this video channel and these videos are not for you guys, no offense, that are horsing around in the garage on Sunday night drinking beer and arm wrestling each other for fun. I'm talking about tournament competition, okay? And that's what all of these videos are about. So when I get questions from people who arm wrestle with their buddies all the time, this video channel does not really apply to you because I'm talking about competitive arm wrestling, okay? So remember, when you go to the traditional tournament, you're at least going to be taking on people in your weight class. And even in your own weight class, there are probably going to be people that are stronger than you, okay? If you're the strongest person in your weight class and the most technical, you're probably going to win that class. But then you can go up to the next class and take on people that are actually in the next weight class up and are stronger than you, okay? I'm not talking about taking on someone who's 200 pounds stronger than you, but you can definitely beat people that are stronger than you, and especially within your own weight class. The key is this, and this is why I wanted to say it's much like destroying a tank, okay? Like, if you look at a group of soldiers by themselves, without any heavy equipment, if they just have like machine guns and grenades and just basic stuff, they're not going to be able to stop a tank. And soldiers throughout World War II and onwards and things like that have been in positions where they needed to put a tank out of action, but they didn't have the strength by themselves to do it. They needed to get creative. And that's the same thing with beating a stronger opponent, okay, at arm wrestling, okay? Now, let's look at a tank real fast, okay, and then let's look at a stronger opponent. I think you'll see exactly where I'm going with this. And this is the way to think about it. Remember, arm wrestling, it's a strength sport, but it is a chess match. It is a thinking man's game. The smart arm wrestler who's built their body technically with all of the considerations that go into the skills they need to perform on the table is going to actually win the tournament, okay? The big strong guy who just comes and tries to bully everybody but doesn't have great technique, he's going to run into someone who has the technique and the strength and will consider how to beat this person, this tank of a person. Okay, so let's look at a tank. A tank's rumbling through, and this infantry group needs to stop it. Okay, now if you just look at like World War II or something like that, there's certain weaknesses on a tank that once the infantry figured out, the soldiers, once they figured out how to dismantle the tank, they would just have to be creative. They couldn't just walk up to the tank and just shoot at it or do something like that, because it wouldn't work. The tank's impervious to just about anything you can throw at it except for something really heavy. So if you're assuming this infantry group doesn't have anything really heavy, how do they stop the tank? Okay, well, they have to get creative, okay? So let's say in this case, they find that the stove pipe on the very top, the little exhaust pipe on the top of the tank is actually the weak point. They have to get on top of the tank and throw some type of an explosive down into that too. So they actually attack the weak point of the tank. They don't try to blow up any other part of it. They don't go after any other part of the tank. They're not going after the dangerous part of it. They're going after the part that's giving breathing oxygen and exhaust to the crew that's inside, okay? And they just know where it is. And they go after that, okay? And that's how they destroy the tank, if they get away with it and jump off and the tank blows up or whatever, but they dismantle the tank, okay? The way that applies to arm wrestling, I know that's kind of strange, but it's exactly the same in my mind, is a much stronger opponent. Remember, that's what all of the different technical skills, strengths, and abilities and techniques that we talk on this channel are about, okay? Is like, look, if you were the strongest person at the tournament every time, okay, and the most technical, arm wrestling would be pretty boring because you just win all the time. Okay, that would be great, okay, maybe, but it's like, that's not the case, is it? The case is that there are stronger people than you at the tournament. There are probably people stronger than you in your weight class. And if you're the strongest, that's still, you guys know what I mean, who've been competing for a while, that still doesn't mean you're going to win. I've been shocked sometimes. I thought I was the strongest person. I've been strongest, I think, in my weight class at a few tournaments, and I didn't win the tournament. And vice versa. I've had tournaments where I was not the strongest, and I won the tournament. Okay, so remember that there's a spectrum of strength and technique. So you look at a spectrum of people. Okay, let's take a super strong man, like the strongest guy in the world, but he doesn't know how to arm wrestle. And then the weakest guy, not the weakest guy in the world, but somebody who's really not strong, but he knows everything about arm wrestling. Neither one of those guys are going to win the tournament. The really strong guy who doesn't know anything, and the not strong guy who knows everything about the sport but can't apply it on the table. And then there's the guy with all the strength, but he can't apply it on the table. Okay, that's kind of where arm wrestling technique and strength starts to meet a balance, okay? And that's how to start really thinking about your arm wrestling. And so when you're taking on a stronger opponent, remember, this is where some of the experience comes into, but this is where hopefully a video like this comes in handy. Is you need to think about your strong opponent. Where are they strong? Okay, like the tank. The tank is weak at that stovepipe. Okay, that's what you need to identify. What's weak on this opponent? What is he not doing? What is he not trying? What position can you force him into that he's not doing? Is he top rolling everybody? Well, put him into the straps or hook him. Something very, you have to do something that's totally different, or you better off, okay, better yet, my real answer is to try to learn counter attack arm wrestling. And of course, that's in my Arm Wrestling Secrets video series too, but is the stronger opponent, if they start developing patterns and they beat everyone with the same move, you can counter that move. You focus on countering from the go, ready, go. From the go, you counter their technique. So for instance, if I, just as a small example, okay, and I'll go into all the different counters, and I think you guys are gonna love that. Okay, and I'll go into them individually for all these different moves, okay? But for instance, if someone was going to hook at the start of a match, okay, let's say, and they were stronger than me, much stronger, okay, and I know that's what they're gonna do, they're gonna hook. They've been beating everyone with the hook, okay? And I can't go into a hook with them because they're stronger than me, right? That's the thing. So this is getting into the meat of the video. Don't go into their dominant technique, okay? If they're hooking everybody and beating everybody, that's probably a clear indication, unless for some reason you think that you're stronger than them and you're gonna beat them. If you have an indication they're stronger than you, in those components, those are the ones to avoid, just like the tank. You're not gonna stand in front of the gun and throw rocks at it, right? You have to take it out a smarter way. It's the same thing with a really strong opponent. You have to study counter arm wrestling and think about the technical skills you can bring to the table to defeat the stronger opponent. Okay, so if someone's, like I said, as an example, there's lots of different things you could do, but let's say an example here is you have an opponent who really likes to hook, and I was going up against this person, and I'm like, okay, well, there's much stronger hooking than me, so I'm going to avoid their hook, okay? And so what I'm gonna do, I might as well just tell you exactly probably what I would do in a tournament is, first of all, I'm gonna throw them off their game. If I haven't seen them in a strap match yet, I'm going to go ahead and make the assumption that, because I have great back pressure too, okay, I'm going to, and I'll be able to pull them away from their body also if they're just focused on the hook. I want to extend their arm. I can do that better with the strap because I have the wrist attachment. So think about this. This is getting into talking about how to take on a stronger opponent. Okay, let's say he was exactly the same size as me. This is still what I would do. If I saw them, and remember that whatever move they're doing, you need to identify it and then try to counter it, okay? Using your brain, not brute force, because the brute force isn't there. Just like the infantry soldier versus the tank. You, no matter what you would like to do, you're not going to be able to destroy that tank by yourself. You better get creative or you're going to die. Okay, same thing in the match. Look, if you're going to take on a person who has a stronger hook than you and a better hook than you, all you're going to do is lose. What's the point of doing that? That's the whole point of learning all the different techniques and the different moves that go into arm wrestling. Stay away from the stronger opponent's move if you can identify where that is, of course, okay? So let's say that's what they're doing. That's our example for this video. They're going to be hooking. That's what they're focused on. They've been taking everybody down. Well, I'm not going to allow that at my table. I'm not going to allow that hook to happen. I'm going to I'm going to set up at a very loose grip, and I'll get into the technicals of this stuff later, so don't worry about some of the things that I say here, but I want you to start thinking about it in this way, okay? This super strong arm wrestler, he's gonna hook, and if he does, I'm gonna lose. Well, that's fine. Then I better not go into the hook, okay? Now, I hope you guys saw my Arm Wrestling Secrets video series on the kickback, okay? We didn't go into it in depth, but we're gonna be going into that much more in depth in the future, okay? Now, if they're gonna hook my wrist, and I kick back hard, pronate, I'm already gonna pronate, okay? I'm gonna set up for a top roll with this hooking person, okay? I'm gonna take a fairly loose grip because I don't want to stay connected to the person. I'm gonna take a loose grip, okay? I'm gonna stay pronated as hard as I can, okay? And then on the go, they're gonna try to turn my wrist. My wrist would have to be turned like that, okay? What I'm gonna do is turn it back. I'm gonna kick back my wrist, and I'm just going to pull. They're not going to be able to hook, okay? And like I said, we'll go into hook counters later, and I really want to show some of that to you guys in individual videos so you can just go right to them and see exactly what the counter should be, and you'll get to see it really up close, okay? But just as a small example, okay, you have a person with a dominant movement, disallow the dominant movement, and you have to put in your research, you have to watch videos like this, you have to put in your time, you have to put in your practice in order to do that. It's not like you can go, oh, I saw the video, now I know what to do. You have to practice and think about it, and you have to know the counters to all of these different movements. If you're going up against a guy who presses every time and he's beating everyone like that, you need to know the counter to that because it's totally different than the one I just talked about, okay? And I haven't even showed you the counter yet. I just talked about how to not get hooked by this initial blast by somebody who is a dominant hooking person who is certainly stronger than me. That would be the first thing I'd do, is I force them into the strap. I would disallow them to get me into a hook without the strap, okay? And then part two is I would go into the strap, same thing. I would still set up for a top roll, okay? I'd put them into a position where I had full pronation, once again, minimizing their ability to hook me, and then I would go into the low hand top roll, okay? Which is, I think, one of the videos people seem to like best on my Arm Wrestling Secrets videos is the low hand top roll section. I think it's like 15 or 16 or 14 or something like that, but it's in the arm wrestling, it's in the top roll section towards the end of the video series. Definitely watch that if you want to learn about the low hand top roll against the hook. It's my favorite. Okay, so now we're in the straps. I'm against this stronger person. Now he's still going to try the same thing. He's still going to try the hook. I can feel it. He's going for it. He's all pumped up. I have a huge advantage now. Okay. Okay. Now I have pronation, and now I have wrist connection. Now, if I blast, same move, slight wrist kickback and pull, now there's no slip. He's coming with me. So if I kick back slightly and I pull as hard as I can, all he is going to go, he's not going to be able to stay like this anymore. Okay, he's going to come, his arm is going to have to come out a little bit. He's going to have to be compromised a bit. And then he either can't get his hook, or if he does have a hook, it's going to be way out here, and it's not going to do him much good. Okay, so I would blast with as much force back, and same thing, I'd kick my wrist back just a hair, so that makes his hook almost impossible. Okay, so, and then of course I'd go from there, hopefully win the match and try some kind of a top roll with the strap or some kind of a strap technique. But you see where I'm going there. So if you have an arm wrestler with a dominant strength and a dominant technique, you stay away from that technique and then force them into your technique or counter their move. And my suggestion is to learn, and this is a little more advanced obviously, but is to learn to counter the different movements of arm wrestling, something we're going to be working on in depth on this channel. I have it already in my Arm Wrestling Secrets video series, but I want to show you move by move counter attacks and then just take them video by video. So each of them are kind of cut into short segments for you. So anyway, I wanted to look at, so next time you have a really strong opponent, don't think, oh man, they're stronger than me. Just think, well, where's their weak point? Where are they weak? Don't think of them as strong. Think, where are they weak? They're weak somewhere. They're weak in their pronation, or they're weak in their their hook, or they're weak in their fingers, or they're weak in their top roll, or something. Where, look, just watch what they do. Where are they strong? Where are they beating everybody? That's where you need to do the opposite. You need to get them out of that, or you need to think of the counter to their dominant technique. That takes away their strength advantage. And that's what this whole video was about. So I hope this was educational for you guys. And we're going to be getting into a lot of the counterattack individual stuff later. So don't worry about that kind of stuff for now. But for right now, think about your strong opponents as, instead of strong, think about attacking their weak points. And I think it'll be a lot better for you. I'll see you guys in the next one.